You are listening to Book Clips, a podcast where authors and narrators expose you to excerpts from different books. You can find the show and more by searching for The Lesbian Talk Show on iTunes, Podbean, or Stitcher.
Hi, Annette Mori here, and I'm going to read from my book titled Captivated. And I'm just going to start from the beginning at chapter 1. Juliet opened her eyes and felt the cold steel lightly pressed against her forehead. She didn't want to complain about the hard, uncomfortable wood chair Tanner had secured her to. That was the least of her problems. Fortunately, Tanner had used zip ties instead of duct tape. The sticky residue sometimes took an extra layer of skin and definitely most of a person's body hair when ripped off. She didn't know how she knew that. Too much crime story television, she supposed. Her stomach grumbled, and she wasn't sure when she'd last eaten. That was probably a good thing at this particular juncture, because she thought she might just vomit on top of the scuffed-up wood floor. Now she pondered the last moments of her pathetic life. Juliet's eyes tracked to Tanner, who was smiling at her. Or was it a smirk? She wasn't sure. In all the time Tanner had been in their little town, she couldn't remember seeing her smile much. Juliet thought she'd caught her one day, but when she did a double take, that same stoic expression returned to her face. It was a damn shame, in her opinion, because in that brief moment, the smile transformed Tanner's face. "I was wondering when you would waken from dreamland," Tanner said. "I had to assist you a little. Sorry about that. You present a major problem for me. Normally I'd just kill you and be done with it, but you don't meet the code." Her gun remained pushed against Juliet's head. She wisely decided to keep her mouth shut. It wasn't her best attribute, since she spoke her mind and snooped too much. Isn't that what led me to this crossroad in my life? Not that you have any voice in the decision, but I'd be interested to know what you think I should do with you. What would you do if you were in my shoes? Tanner asked. This might be her only chance to save her life. I promise I'll just forget everything I saw. I'm sure you have a perfectly good explanation. I mean, you are the law. Tanner's shoulder holstered her gun and looked curiously at her. Maybe Juliet would come out of this pickle alive after all. But then what would she do? Can I really just walk away and let Tanner get away with cold-blooded murder? Tanner quirked her head. You just want a 24-hour reprieve while I consider my options. Since your stomach has been growling for the last 20 minutes, I suppose I ought to feed you. I'll run to the deli and get us both a sandwich. What kind would you like? A benevolent captor. That was a novel notion. Something in the way Tanner asked that question allowed her to relax. She didn't really believe Tanner wanted to kill her, and she was depending on her instincts to get her out of this life-threatening situation. Turkey, if it's not too much trouble. I don't suppose you would be willing to cut the zip ties from my hands. This position isn't the most comfortable. Don't push your luck, Juliet. One thing I am not is stupid. Tanner spun on her heel and exited the deserted cabin. Juliet looked around and tried to find something, anything, that would help cut through her bindings. Nothing. Nada. Zip. Well, she thought, she might as well start contemplating how to con her way out of this mess. She didn't think the fact she knew all the town's secrets due to her incessant snooping would help her get out of her current predicament. She wondered if knowing that Tanner was a lesbian, like herself, might buy her additional time, being family and all. It wasn't much to work with, but it was all she had. Okay, that's the end of my reading. Again, Annette Mori, and the title of the book is Captivated. Thanks for listening.
This was an episode of Book Clips. Check out the show notes for more on this book. And it would be great if you would rate the show and subscribe to the Lesbian Talk Show podcast channel for more woman-centered content. If you are an author of lesbian fiction, then send us your reading. You can find out how on thelesbiantalkshow.com/reading.